All right, and we are rolling. So I am here with Gideon Ondap. Is that how?
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
so I don't know your exact title. I think you're a PhD student. I think
hmm
in it's some kind of political science major type, right? Or is that incorrect?
No, you're right. It's exactly political science. They just have a different name for it. They call it government and politics.
Right.
But yes, I'm a first year PhD student. So
Do you have any like political aspirations, or is like what made you get into this particular degree major?
yeah, no political aspirations at all. It's funny. Like
I mean, it would
yeah,
be a good time to have some.
yeah. I mean, seeing we can talk about this later too, but seeing a lot of the recent candidates, it's very I don't know, encouraging to see. There's this leftward push
Right,
against this rising authoritarian politics that we have. But
right.
before that, no, I don't have any political aspirations, but I do. I just really got into politics when I was younger because I was a big like history buff.
Right,
I used to like read encyclopedias. I used to play like RTSs and shit. Like I used to play Age of Empires, and that's what really got me into history to begin with.
right.
I remember, I think the day that solidified for me that I do not want to be a politician was like I remember when I was like 17 years old, I was like applying to universities. I told my mom, I was like, Mom, one day I'm going to be president of the Philippines because I was born there, so technically I could still run. And she was like, No, do not do that. They will kill you. Yeah. And so
Has there been like a so here's the thing, like I'm not very well versed on, the Philippines and like the
mhm.
history, and like so I'm a very typical American, very ignorant to like everything outside of America. And so yeah, has there been like a history of like assassinations? I mean, obviously there has been in America. I mean, like it's not really any different here. You got, JFK, and it's just like I don't know. What's your background on that?
Yeah, so the reason why my mom said that is because there has been a history of political assassinations in the Philippines, and a lot of it is on politicians who try to kind of disrupt the existing, like, I would say, like feudalistic order of the country. And
Right.
so there has been a history of assassinations, but nothing is incredibly high profile as a president.
Right.
I think most of it have been more like legislators, lawmakers, like more lower level government officials.
Right.
There was like, I mean, there have been some high profile like lawmakers that have been assassinated, but nothing like a president, nothing like a JFK, you know.
Right.
Um, but yeah, so that's kind of the main reason why. And then the more I studied politics, the more I realized that like politics is a game, and I just don't want to play it. At least the way that it's arranged in like a lot of democracies, it's kind of, especially in the United States now, if you could even still call it a democracy, um,
Right.
it's very much a game. And so when, like in my studies, like game theory plays a big part in understanding politics. And so you think of like, especially when it comes to Congress, you think of like new sessions as new like sequences of play, and so there's a lot of like theory behind the way that stuff is arranged, and so it's just I never really liked it because I felt like I was selling myself out, and I so with this degree I'm mainly pursuing studying political science, and so hopefully I get to academia. Um, Continue doing research, maybe even, hopefully get a tenure track position at like a R1 university or like a big research university. But yeah, that's why I went and did it.
So can I ask you a question maybe, and just to get like your opinion or insight, with respect to, I guess, you're saying that, politics is kind of like a game, and
Yeah.
with respect to game theory and things, I think a lot of maybe one of the kind of key like maybe disconnects, I think, between the right and the left at the in our current, political climate is that the right currently views like the Democratic, the Biden government, right, as this big, whatever fucking deep state controlled, conspiracy theory type shit.
Hmm.
They're, I understand, especially after like the COVID, pandemic. I feel like, I those people felt like they faced a trauma that they have never faced before. And I think a lot of those
Hmm.
people just haven't faced trauma enough in life, or just,
Mm.
this is a new thing to them. And like,
Hmm.
it's actually kind of crazy. I was just thinking about it because there was a stand-up special by a guy named, I don't know how familiar you are with stand-up, but Chris Titus, who is also a fucking awesome ass dude. But like, he had a whole stand-up special, and like, fuck. I'm gonna lose my train of thought. I'm not even gonna lie. I took some edibles earlier, and I got some beer here. This is
Nice,
the
nice.
scary hours for me, right? Like, so I try to do this podcast and be like authentic, and the authentic me is really just like, if I schedule a podcast and I do it like in the middle of the day, I'm gonna be sober and I'm gonna try to be like, very formal and shit. But like, if I'm just chilling at
Yeah.
7:45 at night, man, I'm just gonna try to go. But I say that partly to say that, like, number one, if I seem off tonight, off my game or whatever, it's not because I'm stupid. I mean, I am stupid, but that's not why it looks like I'm stupid. But but I just, I can take that little anxiety and I'm just gonna push it onto y'all. Y'all fucking deal with that shit. If I see it like that way, I don't have to be like, what are they
Yeah.
gonna think of me? Man, man, man. Like, it's like, fuck that. I just don't like. That's why I want to keep like whatever. But
Just gotta
so
be real,
going
man. Just gotta be real.
so going back to what I was saying about like game theory. So the left feels like, sorry, the right feels like the government is this big conspiracy thing, and the uh, the reality, or the way that I feel, and I think that most people on the left feel, is like they just recognize that it's a big fucking bureaucratic piece of shit, right? Like, it's just it's not something that can be like, it's so big and cumbersome, and everybody understands that there's waste. It's like, even for like, this has like been like the kind of theme with all fucking things, with kind of things that, especially in the earlier, like what Trump was doing, it's just like people recognize that, yeah, there are problems in our government. It's not about, we don't want to resolve those problems, but like putting somebody in there whose intention is to take over the government for their own profit is not like, that's not like the way to do it, right? Like, and then
Yeah,
and
yeah.
like the analogy I thought of was just like, it's like when, like, if I put all my money and I put it in with a fucking investment fund, right? And like, or like I put it in with Vanguard, right? They're managing my money, so they're like a big hedge fund firm or whatever, and like, so they fuck up, like they lose me money there, I'm not making the money, or like there was some big, like, oh, COVID just happened and the fucking stocks dropped and now I'm pissed off because all my money's gone, and like, what did you do? You fucked it up. And so that's how they feel. I get that. I get the
Hmm.
emotion to it. I get that. But I don't get so then they're like, well, the solution is we're gonna get Donald fucking Trump into the fucking office. What the fuck?
Yeah.
Dumbest fucking
Yeah.
shit I've ever heard. So
Yeah.
that's like saying, okay, Vanguard, you're fucking up my money, my 401k. I'm gonna take all my money out of Vanguard and I'm gonna give that to Charles Ponzi instead. Because
Yeah.
the guy that fucking created the Ponzi scheme, clearly he's got my best interest in heart, more so than fucking Vanguard. Like, this is so fucking stupid to me. But the way I see it, and like, this is what I was trying to get to you, is like maybe your perspective of like, and I'm not sure how well versed you are, and I'm not trying to speak for you or try to make you a political
Mhm.
authority or anything like that. This was just like you and I having a casual
Mhm.
conversation, right? Um, but like, how am I right? Am I right in saying that it's more so to do with the fact that everything is so unnecessarily complicated in making laws and shit. Like it's just like you have to get all the people that are Republicans and all the people that are Democrats in the House to agree on some shit. Then you have to get all the people who are Republicans and the Democrats in the Senate to agree on some shit. Then you have to, and they don't agree on any fucking thing. Not a fucking thing. Ever. Ever. And this is why, and then it just doesn't get to the fucking president. And then like there was once introduced, and Democrats introduced it, ranked choice voting. Ranked choice voting. This is such a fucking easy thing to do. It's such an easy thing to implement and to completely change the way everything in America works for the better of the people. Because it gives people the opportunity to say, okay, well, you know, it doesn't matter if the DNC doesn't want Bernie Sanders to run for, you know, the Democratic nominee. It doesn't matter if the RNC doesn't want Ron Paul to run for the Republican nominee. It doesn't fucking matter because like you can still cast your vote for them as an independent without throwing away your vote. Because you can still vote for the other person, right? Like if my options are Donald Trump, Bernie Sanders, and who's running as an independent, and Biden, I'm gonna vote for Bernie Sanders. But if he's a fucking independent, he has no possible chance of winning at all. There's just no realistic path for that because everybody splits on Democrats and Republicans. That's throwing away your vote. But if you have ranked choice voting, you vote for two people. You rank them based on who you want it to be from first, second, and third. And then whoever fucking gets the most votes, which puts independents on the same level playing field as Democrats and Republicans. What that does is it takes power away from Democrats and Republicans. And as a Democrat, well, that's a whole nother tirade, but I don't want to go into, but like, I don't even think that Democrat is the right word. Like, I'm not a Democrat. I vote Democrat because Democrats are people that are in office who get paid by some fucking big company, you know, and they get their fucking funding to campaign, to do everything. They get their income from corporations that are rigging the games, like rigging the fucking rules of capitalism so that the people cannot compete anymore. Like they're literally paying to not have to compete. That's all they're doing. And that fucks up the fucking free market capitalism that allows people to like if I start up a small fucking business and like I want to compete with Netflix, I want to create a streaming site. Like I can do that. I'm a programmer. I know how to do that. I can 100% like create a new social media, and it will actually give people, you know, the ability to talk to people like humans again. Not with these fucking algorithms and not with this fucking control that we have, but like it would just allow people to just talk normally. And I could build that app. I could try to put it out there, and if people fucking go to it, they go to it. But as soon as I start making, you know, a couple people, you know, then like you have bigger applications like Mark Zuckerberg who will come through and just be like, hey, we're going to buy this out. And then, you know, then that company, that application never gets built, right? And then now you just have a monopoly on the fucking game. And now the only applications that everybody's on are the fucking ones causing all the discourse in the first place. But like, it's so fucking frustrating. But all of this comes from the fact that like, it comes from the fact that, man, I got just a lot of pent up anger.
I was just letting you go, man. It was like it felt like you needed to get this off your chest.
Am I wrong to say that like the problems, like all of the things that really, really fucking suck about America are like how fucking much money it costs for healthcare, the things that we all agree on, housing, all of these things, the reason they're not getting fixed is because the Republicans and Democrats that we put into office are voting against it, or they're not voting for it. They're not writing it into the bills, and they're not agreeing upon it because they have an incentive not to. So it's not as simple as like, oh, like these people are like the reason why like inflation has gone up is because Biden pressed the inflation go up button, right? Like it's not that fucking simple. Like to to think that this is all like this has been decades in the making. It's not new. We've been adding shit on and adding shit on to the government since I've been born. Like this isn't like a new thing that just popped out of nowhere and now it's the deep state because in 2020 like people saw for the first time that like that government can actually do some shit that can be harmful. And like it's just so fucking stupid how we handled it though. Like that's all I got to say right now.
Okay, so there's a lot to unpack there, but let's start with like the core question, right? Like, are you wrong for thinking that a lot of the issues in governance right now is rooted in the fact that politicians are not incentivized to produce or create outcomes that are beneficial to the general American populace, right? That's your main question.
More or less, yeah.
Yeah. And so there are a couple arguments in the literature that kind of we can like piece this together with. And I had this realization when I was like in my studies last fall.
Right.
And so it starts off with the assumption that, okay, well, especially for Congress people, their main incentive is to get reelected.
Right.
And so they behave in ways that benefit that main objective. And so the research, they call this tendency like single objective seekers, right? And so these politicians, especially when it comes to legislators, everything that they do is for the benefit of reelection.
Right.
And when the research first started, this meant, you know, politicians going out to their constituencies, them getting to know the people that are going to vote for them, especially for like, you know, especially if they're going to be in a competitive district. They're going to go there, they're going to shake people's hands, you're going to get to know them, they're going to figure out their concerns, and they're going to make themselves presentable because they want to be recognized. And so that's like the main foundational thing. I think everybody can agree that politicians want to get reelected. And so a lot of the differences now you'll identify in the way politicians carry themselves. And so back then it was a lot more cordial because the optics of reelection were different. You had to be part of this like more cordial, more formal decorum expected of a politician, and obviously we don't have that now. And then second of all, you had to really make yourselves available, and like you had to produce tangible outcomes for the people of your district for the most part. I think there's also another thing we also have to think about is the incumbency advantage. Like incumbents usually are going to be are more likely to win, mainly because they're more recognizable and they're already going to be at the top of the ballot with parentheses incumbent. And people, so you know, like
Just to specify, incumbent meaning
the person already in
sitting, yeah.
yes, the currently sitting politician. So a lot of times they'll just win because they're recognizable already. And let's be honest, like the civic culture in the United States is not very thorough. Americans would rather fucking die than go to like Ballotpedia to look up like the policies or like the platforms of the people that they're voting on.
Right.
Which is another part of the thing I'll get into later. So those are the main two things. And then for me, the third biggest thing happened in 2010, and it's Citizens United. And so there is this concept where like you have to create a responsible party government, and responsible meaning your actions should reflect the needs, the wants, and the desires of the constituency. And that makes you responsible because you're responsive to those needs. However, because of the differences in re-elections, because now it's money that's going to get you reelected, not not hosting town halls, not going to your constituency. Like our politicians have no incentive to be responsible, because either way, if they get elected, if they ingratiate themselves to these lobbyists, to these moneyed interests, they're not going to care about, the fucking iron worker that like that can't donate shit for them because he's on EBT, but he's still going to vote for him anyway because we have a two-party system, and like you said, there's that constraint. And then also you have to think about like the ideology of these people, right? Usually when we think of like ideology, we think of like conservative, liberal, Democrat, Republican. And obviously there's going to be a lot of dimensions when you think about it because there's a lot of different policy areas and people, and you like to think that a benefit of the party system is that it streamlines a lot of these complicated facets of ideology. So like if you are a Democrat, then you're probably going to be pro regulation, then you're probably going to be, more socially liberal, yada yada yada. But sometimes people ascribe to these like party labels without really having a very fleshed out idea of what they believe in. And so when you have Republican, politicians calling themselves the party of small government, but then they go ahead and give billions upon billions of dollars to ICE and like don't have any sort of like restrictions on the way that they carry themselves, that's not small government, and it's a massive inconsistency. Um, and so we also have to understand that a lot of these politicians benefit from the fact that in the United States, ideology is not very consistent. And I think part of it too is that we do not have a very thorough civic education. We do not receive a lot of like political grooming when we're growing up. Like we're not expected to really participate in the government because we're just like, you have the freedom to and to not to do it. But like I think we
Can I
should.
ask a question?
Yeah.
Um, so can you repeat what you just said?
Like I'm saying that we don't have a very robust civic education in the United States.
Right. Well, so this is the thing. Yeah. Do you know why it is that we just don't seem to teach our kids the things that we need to teach them in order for them to, it's like, I don't know. It's like, how do we cram all these things into it? Obviously, we teach people English. I don't know. I think I was required to take public speaking. I don't know that I really need to know public speaking, but it's just like, we don't at all. I don't think there are two things, and maybe there's probably some other ones that are like, but these are like very critical things. Maybe yeah, maybe I can think of three, but like things that you need really to be useful and as an adult, right? One of them being like an understanding of politics enough to be able to understand the structure of your government and understand you have your House, your Senate, your I don't even know, so I'm gonna end up being the same like egg on my face bullshit, but like House, Senate, and whatever.
Yeah,
But I know
it's
there's
just two. Yeah,
the
yeah,
the 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 fucking judiciary branch. Yeah, like
yeah,
it's
yeah, yeah.
the but so this but like I don't know, man. It's just like, how is it that we don't teach people politics? We don't teach kids like anything about like finance, right? We don't really like in our education system. Like I never really like I never took any class where they explained any of this shit. I never like throughout elementary, middle school, throughout high school, throughout college. I graduated with a bachelor's. So like I mean I didn't really get I wasn't forced to because it wasn't my major, right? They I had to learn all the fucking computer science and fucking random ass like algorithms that I don't ever use as an actual, in my career. But like, and very few people actually do. That's the thing. It's like a lot of the shit that I learned, somebody could have taught me fucking economics, right? Like some like regular, just like how the fucking Federal Reserve works and how all of this, economics was considered one of those like you can pick what pick and choose what you end up taking, and I just think that children maybe like people going to college are still fairly young and underdeveloped mentally, so it's just like they're not necessarily going to pick the best thing for themselves. They're not going to be like, oh, I can go in singing or I can go learn about finance and I'm gonna go with singing, you know, right? Like, cause
Yeah.
like even if I can't sing, there's probably gonna be some hot bitches there, right? Like this is, but like, but what am I doing picking finance, right? Like, but we should be forcing. Not, I don't want to say forcing, but yeah, forcing. You know, and you know, we should make it mandatory that we educate, you know, kids who are coming up in this world on finance, on politics, like how to manage your own money, how credit and interest works, and all that shit that will, you know, prevent people from going into debt and fucking ruining their lives before they even get out of fucking college. You know, it's just like all these things, you know, I feel like should be mandatory, but why is it that like we just seem to ignore all of that in favor of like, you know, other things that might be, you know, at best electives?
Um, for me, the answer is really simple, and it just boils down to capitalism, because we don't arrange our education system to create fully fleshed out, actualized human beings. We create workers. And so we funnel a lot of our brightest minds into the military industrial complex. We try to nurture productivity rather than curiosity,
Right.
which is why you notice, I mean, I think this is a big part of it, like a big part of the right's like culture war, is that if people actually pursued things like Marxism, or like or like they decided to study like Russian lesbian literature, like they're going to find out things that aren't going to make them useful to the capitalist machine. And so like these people are not going to work, and they're not going to feed into the system that just makes you richer. And so a lot of these politicians, I mean, probably maybe not like, I don't know, consciously do it. Maybe they don't consciously do it. But even then, we have this like innate understanding that like you go to school because you want to get a job after. You don't go
Right.
to school because you actually want to fucking learn something. You have to do school because after that, that's the process. That's like the thing waiting for you at the end. The thing waiting for you at the end after learning all this shit is sitting at a fucking desk from 9 to 5. And then like for a lot of these really smart kids, they go into like computer science, they go into engineering, they're going to spend the rest of their fucking life creating missiles like to kill children. Like, dude, this is so fucked. Like, it's so
Yeah.
fucked. And so for me, the main answer is like, our, and
Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
I just had a thought, but I don't want to interrupt you.
no,
So
you're good. You're good. I mean, basically, I was just saying it's just capitalism. That's the fucking
right.
problem.
Um. So I mean, like that brings up like an ethical question, right? And this is like because I think about this. I'm a you know a programmer. And I'm at the moment I like my job, and I really don't really feel like a need to go searching for something else
Yeah.
at the moment.
Yeah.
Um. But yeah, like I did actually apply for the NSA, and I
Hmm.
got a conditional job offer, which means that
Hmm.
like if I passed their you know background check and shit, then I would have been working there. But I didn't pass because yeah, alcohol. So, but so and they don't even tell you that upright. They'll you have to like send a letter, and you know
Hmm.
and request that they tell you why you know you got rejected, and then they'll tell
Yeah.
you. But yeah, it was an intense process, man. I hated it. But yeah, that like brings up this ethical question, right? Like I think about this like if I don't think I would have been able to work under the Trump administration if I were working in the NSA. I don't know. I don't. I'm generally like, you know, pretty like chill about like most things, but like I wouldn't want to contribute to it.
Hmm.
And yeah, like I just have, and this is a thing that everybody's going to have to grapple with on their own level, right? What are your ethics? What is it that like, and it's not even just like, you know, the Trump administration. There are other things that like I just don't want to contribute to, right? Like I
Yeah.
don't want to be any part of like you were saying, like creating the missiles that end up killing people and like, and you know unfortunately this has you know been all throughout fucking history like when you know they created the atomic bomb and it was just like you know I am become death and all this other shit and it's just like it's um you gotta figure out like you're doing I think at least in the case, I don't know. It depends. You have to argue with yourself and figure out what's right and what's wrong. It's like, is it right to try to advance human knowledge? I mean, I'm sure, like, apart from nuclear warfare, which is fucking terrifying in every fucking sense, and the fact that we just don't like think about that 24/7 is fucking insane. Like, just walking around, like any minute now it's gonna happen.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Like that's fucking crazy. But I try to block it out. But like the insanity that like that exists, but also like nuclear power and energy has like probably been very productive in many other ways. I'm not smart enough to tell you which one, in which ways they things that we've invented they harbor it. But yeah, so I just feel like I don't know how people would grapple with the ethics of that. How would you grapple with the ethics of like I'm going to go into a career? And I mean, you also it really depends on your level of investment in the capitalism game, right? Like, and I can see that too because I've been, there's been a time where I was just like a little bit just like, okay, let me focus as much on like how I can make as much money and like try to do things like in a certain way. I was locked on like this idea of like money, 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 which is what capitalism tries to train people to do. All this like red pilling Joe Rogan and fucking bullshit, right? Like or Andrew Tate bullshit, where it's just like they teach people like, oh, you got to go after these fucking Lamborghinis and you got to go after all these cars and shit, and like you know, or girls and whatever. You got to be a millionaire, a billionaire, an entrepreneur. Like some people get really fucking locked into that. They believe that they drink the Kool-Aid, and that's what they focus on all the time. Money, 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 and like so, like. And then there might be other reasons why you go into it. Maybe you think to yourself like, I I don't want to do this. I don't want to contribute to this, but like I'm going to do it in a way that is the most ethical way that I can do it in that role. Because like if not, like for example, a reason I might want to work in the NSA under Trump is that, I would have some level of input within my little proximity of like people, and I could at least try my best to like do, rein things in, because I don't the alternative is somebody else is going to have that role regardless of whether I'm in it or not. But like somebody else could be just full on just fucking insane, right? Like, and I don't want that person in that role instead of me. I think that's more harm than good. But at the same time, it's just like, how do you grapple with like what you're always some level of proximity from these bad things, whether you're directly contributing to like creating like the atom bomb, or if you're just I am a software developer at Meta, but I don't even work on Facebook. I work on like VR headsets or some shit, and it's not really causing that much harm to society, and so it's not that unethical. But I'm still working for this big global conglomerate that like is completely destroying the world, just out of pure greed and buying into that Kool-Aid that I just told you about. But that's but yeah, I don't know, like what you're all, no matter what job you end up in some way you're contributing to that. You're not there's no way to evade it because of how interconnected everything is. So like where's the line? What number of degrees of separation from the actual problem am I allowed to be, and how much money is necessary for me to find that like ethical balance? Like where would you pin that if I asked you to it like what that's my question to you, right? I'm like a job applicant person, and like I'm like, okay, I want you to tell me what is the dollar amount and how close to like a terrible thing like I don't know what the worst thing you could think of. I think missiles in Gaza is pretty bad, so let's say that. Like I'm willing to give you $200,000, $1 million for missiles in Gaza, or if you don't want to contribute to that, then just $1 million just for I don't know something else that's like seems damaging or whatever. Like puppies are like I don't know. They get sick. I don't know.
Right, right. Okay, so I think there's I mean, obviously, there's the saying that like there's no ethical consumption under capitalism. And
Right.
a lot of these issues are rooted in the system. And so as an individual, you almost have no choice in your role in these things. Like for me, like driving a car, contributing to, the accumulation of greenhouse gases. Um, I have used like Chat GPT to help with my coding. And it's
And I
like,
think a lot of us do. I mean, like,
yeah, and it's like, I mean, that's what it's designed for. I mean, it's a large language model, and a lot of it's specialized, especially in the kind of type of code that I use, and so it's very helpful. But at the same time, like that's causing a lot of environmental damage, and that makes me partly complicit in it. But
right.
we also have to think about it in this way, like in terms of like the degrees of separation, right? I think we're thinking of it in a way where like there's like a blanket, uniform, like distribution of um, complicity or like blame that you can apply to an individual.
Right.
Um, I think I don't think we should really think of it that way. I think the way we should think about it is there are going to be choices that you can make that they like really speak to your values the most, right? And I think it's relative to what values you hold. Like if you're a capitalist and you're totally fine with making much money, you don't really give a fuck, then like yeah, like if the thing is if you know what you're doing is wrong and you're still doing it anyway, I think that's like no, that's extreme like ethical pitfall like that you're
I feel like,
making.
yeah, that's a much easier way to describe it, right? It's like
Yeah.
if you just feel it in the moment and you know that what you're doing is wrong and you decide to do it anyway, then that's really when you, I think, cross the lines of like,
Yeah.
okay, you might be a bad person, right? Like,
Yeah, but there's also like a little bit of nuance to this too, right? Because like there are going to be people who have like these beliefs and like say like maybe I know someone that like works at Northrop Grumman, like they work their ass off in college to get a really like good paying six-figure salary job, and then like maybe they're just I don't know what the fuck they do. Maybe they're just like fucking soldering chips and shit, and somehow this chip is the core component of a drone that's like kills children off in like
right,
fucking
right.
Libya or something, right?
And that's a great
Yeah,
example. I would have
like
never come up with an example that beautiful, but go on. Go on.
but like say this person is just there all day just soldering shit, but they don't know where this goes to.
Right.
And all of a sudden someone tells them like, yo, like what you're doing is like making you complicit in like the shit like in like genocide or
Yeah.
like murder. And then that person is at like hits a fork in the road. Then they have to really consider like, does this speak to who I am? And this
Right.
is why I also think that like I think that we should hold people accountable when they make ethical mistakes, right? But we
Right.
also have to consider the fact that like this person did not ask to be born into this world. They did not ask to be born in the capitalist system.
Right.
So like for them to feel attachment to like the lifestyle that they've spent their entire life building, like I can't entirely blame a person for that either. Because
Right.
like if you've lived a life of comfort, it's going to be hard for you to want to tear all that down because like someone told you that what you do is fucked up. And so there's
Right.
going to be a lot of people who feel defensive about that and they're not going to want to confront that. Um, and so I think culpability is like it's a culpability requires like awareness. And there's just some people who are not aware. And then sadly, there's also going to be people who are going to be more attached to their material conditions than their actual like ethical beliefs or their
Right.
ideology. And
Right.
so it's hard to really say that like there's going to be a uniform degree of separation where like this is fine and this isn't. I think
Right.
it just depends on like what weighs the most on how you see yourself as a person.
Right. All right, can I ask you a question? I'm gonna ask you to therapize me a little bit, all right?
Yeah,
Because I
yeah,
really
yeah.
I like the example that you kind of gave about making chips and like I thought like I picture myself in this role, right? Where like, okay, this is me. I'm a chip maker. That's my career.
Yeah.
I went to college for it, and like I decide to myself, okay, I'm going to take this job. I get hired. I get paid a pretty good salary, engineering, right? Like, I think, I don't know.
Hmm.
I'm unless I'm in China, obviously. I just like, it depends on a lot of variables, but I
Yeah.
assume like in my scenario that I'm making like a decent amount of money. I like my job. All things are going pretty reasonably well. I don't know anything's wrong. And then all of a sudden, some person comes up to me and they tell me, that like these chips are like directly going to the drones that like, yeah, yeah. So now, yeah, I'm exploring like, okay, what I feel in that moment, because like I do, like I might be one. I think I'm one of those people that would be like, man, I would sit there with myself, I would think about it, and then I would probably. I mean, I don't think I would like quit, right? Like I don't.
Yeah.
And the weird thing, right, is that I think if it were the other way around, where I had not been hired yet, and then you came up to me and you said, oh, this company wants to hire you. And then like as I'm like, before I get hired, before I start the job, I go Google it and find out, okay, well, this company, they make the chips that like, contribute to these drones. I don't think I would
Yeah.
sign on.
Yeah.
And like that's I'm not sure entirely why that is. Maybe it's just like, I'm already in the experience. I'm feeling all these things, and I'm in a steady state of my life, and like I don't want to disrupt that. And it's just like, I mean, I might start looking for a job or an alternative. But like, yeah, I don't know.
So there's a couple things that I mean you can think about that too. Like, so especially in terms of like a lot of these like war manufacturers, you think like a lot of the people that work there, like it's understandable that you would not want to leave as soon as you get hired, because at that point it's become like a necessity, like it's integral to your survival as a human being, and so obviously you're going to be attached to it in some capacity.
Right.
I think I think there's also you are also given a choice, right? Like you can make the extremely radical life altering choice to just leave your job. Like there's going to be a massive cost to that, to the stability of your livelihood. But then also you have to think of like does this also benefit me, like who I am as a person?
Right.
And so you're also alienated from your beliefs in that way, because you have to think about like there's an exchange to like realizing yourself as a human being, which sadly I feel like that's also another thing we have to think about when we're criticizing capitalism. But also at the same time, like, is the blame entirely on you as an individual?
Right.
Like, say like these chips serve two purposes, right? Say like they also, first they're put in the drones, and then second they're like, I don't fucking know. They're like used for like, unmanned airplanes that like monitor the sky for like temperature changes or whatever. And
Right.
that would be very beneficial to humanity or whatever.
Right.
And so you have to think like, am I the most culpable person here? And the answer would definitely be no, because it boils down to the system. First, you can start with, well, like it's just you can start off with capitalism, obviously, because it's kind of like the root of like the alienation, right? And then secondly, you have to think like, well, why is this piece of very sophisticated technology being used to kill people, to serve some sort of political interest,
Right.
rather than
To
actually
do
make the
good
world?
things,
Yeah,
right? Like,
exactly.
yeah.
And so
It's
then
somebody
you,
making that choice, and that goes all the way up to the government, and it goes all the way up to whoever's in office, and like it's
yeah,
just like our intervention is very permanent. Like
yeah,
we have economic ties to it that we will not give up. And
yeah,
that's honestly, like, if you think about it, that's kind of what we're just talking about. Like, that
yeah.
applies at a global scale where they're
Hmm.
like, okay, they know they're doing something wrong, but they're going to just keep doing it because we're already here. And, like, and it,
Hmm.
it really is, like, to some degree, it's just like the fucking frog getting boiled, slowly and
Yeah.
slowly. And it's just,
Anything to stop you from getting that consciousness. I think like
right,
I think that's the main thing. Like awareness and consciousness. That's what separates you from like just a regular cog in the machine. Like if you're aware of these things, then you have the potential to do something about it. And I think that's just like that's the most important takeaway, especially when it comes to like navigating like the difficult like ethical conundrums of being in a capitalist society. Like you just have to really like think like how can I make this like how could I make the most out of this in terms of like how can I benefit the world, you know? Like
Right.
it just but we also have to like it's just not everybody thinks that way. And I think part of it too is just like, dude, like we have material needs. And I think that's the main thing that's stopping a lot of people because like you have families to feed, you got a life to live. Sometimes you have to make a sacrifice to like follow through with your you know ethic with your beliefs and your ethics and stuff like that.
Right. Yeah. Can you give me one moment to think here? You good?
You're good.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Make sure. Um, Let me think. I know I saw your it was your I think like it was like the biography or whatever.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
And like so I know you're like specific into what was it? I could probably pull it up somewhere, but
No, you're good. Yeah, I can explain it.
yeah, go ahead. Good.
So like on my profile, I think it's all a little dated now because as in the first year, a lot of your research agenda changes, but I think it's still essentially the same. So my specialty is in American politics and comparative politics. So comparative politics is just like you're comparing different governments and then the outcomes associated with that. And
Right.
so and so my initial research focus was like, well, I want to see the effects of colonialism on the political culture of immigrants. And
Mhm.
so it like in more simplistic terms is that like how has colonialism changed the way immigrants vote and behave politically? It's like how do they protest because of it? Does it change the way they protest? Things like that. And so so like if you want me to like go into like the nitty gritty of like why I follow this or
I guess maybe can you tell me like what rather than that what are like maybe the more like what are the things that you've kind of found like that
hmm
seem might be like important for people to know? I feel like I don't think a lot of people really think about it much, and just to maybe just make sure we're all here.
yeah
Colonialism, like generally just the idea of like like I guess the Europeans basically like at one point like had like I don't know how was it like 70%? It was a lot. It was more
yeah
than
they just
50% of the world.
yeah
They took over that shit. I don't know how the fuck they did that. That must have been fucking crazy. But that that happened, and like so they basically took their culture and they imposed it on the local culture, the cultures
hmm
that existed in all those different places, like India or obviously America, because like so basically they just they because of that there's just like a cultural mixing, and like I remember reading about like some girl like who like I can't remember. I think this was around the time of the Japanese internment camps, but she I think went to like a white school and they like tried to I don't know, they just like tried to like beat her culture out of her, like to like make sure that she like doesn't act like like her family does, right? Like I don't
yeah
know.
yeah 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 so like the what is it? I know that they put like Native Americans in like re-education schools or whatever. I forgot what they're called, like reform schools. But yeah, basically like it's just Western imposed cultures and ideologies and political structures, things like that. So it's like it's far more like it's very comprehensive. It totally altered the way that a lot of these countries like developed into nations, which is why like, if you see, especially with like India and Pakistan, like the line that created those two nations is completely arbitrary. Same thing with Nigeria. I mean, Africa is the worst, the most egregious example of this. I mean, like they just partitioned it amongst like latitudes. Like it just doesn't make sense because like literally, ethnic groups or nations like people that share a common identity are split between like two, three countries sometimes just because of the way that their borders were partitioned in the first place. And so that's just mainly what I'm like. The main thing I want people to recognize is with this is that like colonialism still has implications to this day. And we don't really like to think about it because we like to think like, well, these countries have been independent now. Like all the bad shit that's happening to them and their people is kind of their own fault. Like that's I feel like that's a pretty pervasive like misconception people have about former colonial countries. They just think like the shit's bad because they're not like the West. But like these countries have just suffered exploitation and like erasure for centuries upon centuries. And for me, like my studies are rooted in the Philippines. And so that's like, you know, it's the only Catholic dominant or Christian dominant like country in Asia. And so if you think
And
about
I'm
it,
assuming that was because of colonialism, right?
yes, and because first Spanish
To spoil the
occupation.
punchline.
Yeah, exactly. So like you got 300 years of Spanish occupation, then you had like about like 40, 50 years of American occupation. Um, and so during that entire time, like, you know, that bundle of islands like was turned into one country. Dude, there are like nearly 200 ethno-linguistic groups in that country. Like it's just not a natural border.
Right.
Obviously, over time, like it's kind of the Filipino has become like an identity that a lot of the people have opted into just because it's kind of been imposed on them. But like at the same time, like there have been different behaviors that like affected people. Like, I mean, I this is common with a lot of like Spanish colonies. I would say like generally almost all colonies. I mean, like you see it in India too. Like there's like colorism is rampant, and so
Right.
that's because like you're up against a standard of whiteness, and
Right.
so you think about it like that's just one way that colonialism seeps into a political culture. They'll value certain people more because they look different, and then you have to think about it more in a structural sense, right? So like with the American occupation and in the Philippines, they completely altered their education system. They were teaching them American geography in the Philippines. Like, why the fuck does this person in Manila have to know where Arkansas is? Like, they don't live there. They wouldn't be. I mean, at this point in time, they wouldn't really be accepted if they lived there. You know, like why do they have to know? And that's just because you're kind of propping up the colonial power as like the standard of excellence, and that way you can kind of like I don't maybe it could be for other reasons, but I mean like you could like instill servitude or you know empower certain groups or whatever. But it's just like it just creates a lot of instability, and I just want to know like do immigrants like still are they still affected by this? Like how does this change the way that they see politics or they participate in politics?
Right. So I mean, like, what's the answer? Like, I mean,
Mm.
let me ask more specifically. I mean, I don't know
Yeah.
if you know this because I know your focus is on like the Philippines, but like, do you know and maybe and how have Filipino people like viewed Trump? Like, how have like because I know like Trump was famously like known for winning like male Mexican voters, and I it might have gotten women as well. I'm not sure. But like so like the fact that like he won that says something to like their culture, right? Like the way that their culture is perceiving Trump, which is contrary to the way that some people would think that their culture would see Trump.
Yeah.
And so I don't know if you have any insight into that, but if not, I'm also interested to know like in terms of the Filipino culture, like
Yeah.
what that would be.
So my answer is I don't have one yet. The thing is, like, it's so the
I
reason
mean, my
why
first thought is Christianity, right? But
yes, yeah. I mean, I think that would be my best guess.
yeah,
So when it comes to like how what is like the effect of this, it's just inconclusive right now because it's bridging different literatures. You're drawing from like social psychology, and it's just kind of if for it to be very conclusive, it just requires a lot of theory building and actual like work. But without getting into like the really researchy part of it, like if I were to just take a shot in the dark, right? Christianity is a big part of it too.
right,
Um, and I think the thing is, it's kind of difficult. It's kind of difficult to pinpoint religion because obviously Filipinos are majority Catholic, but a lot of the support for Trump has been rooted in like Protestant evangelical
Hmm.
Christians. And
Right.
so, I mean, there is a sizable
I'm
population.
actually pretty like ignorant, I think, in terms of religion because I just don't like I'm kind of agnostic, but I grew
Yeah.
up Catholic. And so I maybe like don't understand very much like the difference between Catholicism and other religions because I never experienced those other
Hmm.
religions and never
Yeah.
really asked many people about like what the differences are. Like, but not necessarily the differences. I don't need the biblical scriptures.
Yeah.
More
Yeah. Yeah.
so I'm more interested to know like what are those differences causing people to think like what is like when like I have heard like there are some like is it evangelicals who think that like okay Trump is like this like biblical figure and he's gonna be like the second coming and like
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
that's all linked to like Israel. I've read this
Yeah,
online.
bro.
I know
Yeah.
nothing about it. I
Yeah.
care nothing about it, but it comes across my face and take all this
Yeah.
crap
Yeah.
in. But like I don't like but this is the thing. Um but yeah, I mean like I don't do you have any insight on that?
Yeah. So I think one big part of it is just like the structures of these religions. With Catholicism, I think it's far more rigid in its structure. Like the way that they do things follows. I don't know. Maybe I could be wrong, but like the way that they do things is very bound to tradition. And so, I mean, a lot of the political stuff that comes with Catholicism may not be. I mean, with a lot of churches, you can't really say guarantee, but I feel like there's just not as much leeway for you to imbue your own political beliefs in a Catholic church. Whereas when it comes to Protestant and evangelical, it's far more. It's like the formation of the religion is like a democratized version of Catholicism, like a more free offshoot, I guess you could say, where the practice is not as constrained by tradition or a lot of these like rules and regulations and stuff like that. And so when you come with evangelicals, I think the main problem is that like their main goal is to like spread their religion, right? And that makes them the evangelicals. And second,
Right,
it's
and that
like,
leads to colonialism, right?
yeah,
Like
it leads
that
you
is
to
literally, and
colonialism.
this is the thing too, because like Trump did very explicitly when he was running for president, I believe, and at some point like said the word manifest destiny, which has
Yeah, it's fucked.
a
Yeah.
very clear tie to manifest destiny, which is literally the
Hmm.
fucking title of like in history books of like when America just like or like yeah we just spread
Just
ourselves all
genocided
across because that
all
was
across
our
the country. Yeah.
religious obligation to do it like and that's
Hmm.
how Christianity gets used to like cause a
Yeah.
genocide
Yeah.
and yeah.
I mean, also it created like a foundational part of people's ideology. Like, well, if my pastor says that like Trump and is like a conservative, like Trump is a conservative, and he's going to like fight for the Bible or whatever the fuck. Like as an evangelical, if you feel it is your purpose to be like, well, I have to spread my religion, and this is the guy who's going to let me do it,
Right.
then he's going to get a lot of support. And what's interesting is, I don't know about Filipinos, but I know for Latinos, a lot of the Latino support for Trump is rooted in evangelical Latinos. And I think part of that too is, so like, it's kind of, I think with Latinos, the study of Latino politics is becoming a lot more difficult just because people have usually like lumped Latinos all into one, like thinking that they behave like a monolith, when in reality it's far more complicated. But like, I think a big thing is like, for some Latinos who are evangelical, they think of themselves more as evangelical than Latino. And
Mhm.
so whatever like bullshit Trump was saying about Mexicans didn't really register with them, because they're like, well, that doesn't matter to me. I see myself more as an evangelical than I see myself as a Latino.
Right.
And the stuff he says about the Bible matters to me more as a voter, and so I'm going to vote for him.
Right.
And it's like, okay, yeah, sure. But I think also shit is getting bad enough where like people are starting to realize like, well, like whatever, like it doesn't really matter what my identity is. Like he's doing weird, like he's moving weird. I
Right.
think a part of his voter base is realizing that it just sucks because, like, well, like I mean, like, possibly in the next 4 years, like, we're not gonna have the option to vote his ass out. Like,
Well, yeah. Well,
like,
okay. I don't know. Like when you say moving weird, my first thought was Epstein. Are we like?
yeah, Epstein is
I'm
a big
down to
one.
jump onto this one,
Yeah.
just because it's like the hot topic of the moment. But like, so I know very little about the Epstein files and like I mean, no matter what you look at it, like it's there's no denying that this was a very powerful figure who had a lot of political connections, a lot of corporate connections. Who like he was found guilty. I think I don't know like the actual jury ruling, but like it was like apparently undisputed that he was guilty. That like he like had a prostitution ring with like tons of like underage girls and shit, and so he has these ties to clients who like I don't know like ignore the list. Who gives a fuck about the list? Like, but like what like this is an undisputable fact that he had clients who were politicians and like big figures, and I don't know what like the scale of it is. It could be like foreign people. You got Saudis and shit, like maybe they're like involved in like that could be like a huge like I'm just laying out hypotheticals, right? I have no ball in this because I don't dig into conspiracy theories, but I'm following their trains of thought sometimes,
Yeah.
trying to figure them out, like what because I try to like get different perspectives and like understand like what's going on, but like um, I'm just trying to figure out how like I knew that like it's funny because I part of me like based on just like because I was online a lot. I was reading into like I look at 4chan just to just make sure like what they're talking about. I don't spend a lot of time on there. I don't post on there, but I lurk and like so I'm like following some of the shit, right? I skim the shit, but like um I don't know much about the conspiracies. All I know is
Mhm.
that there's undeniable truth that like Epstein like did what he did, right?
Yeah.
He there's no doubt whatsoever, 100% guaranteed that there's at least one politician out there who fucked an underage child, on the island, with his ties to Epstein. I don't think that's. I think that's safe to say, but
Yeah.
so the reality is that like it does not seem like our government has done a very good job of like trying to make any of that information like public. They've very clearly been trying to cover that up no matter how you look at it, like I like and it's not just Trump. It's also fucking Democrats. Also, like just like if they wanted to release all that information, it probably would have been. It does seem sus, right?
Yeah.
But I'm just trying to it it like surprises me a little but not a lot that this was like the point where like people actually started to seem to give a shit. Like it's funny because like I ended up doing like a speech at like a protest, and like I was writing a speech and I had two versions of the speech, and one of them I really wanted to do it, but I was like I didn't think it was gonna hit the way I wanted it to hit. I needed like a different crowd, like and when I actually got there, I'm glad because it was very white and very not the crowd I wanted. But I was thinking of like a whole. It would have been epic Epstein, like fucking speech, and just talking about like and just bringing up the whole like Kendrick Lamar A minor thing, right? And the idea was like I was
Oh,
gonna film the
yeah.
shit, and then like
Yeah.
I'm a writer, I'm a creator, I do a lot of
Yeah.
things like so I like to entertain, and I like to
Yeah. Yeah.
I want to do the best I can to make everybody energized and feel like oh this was awesome, right? Like
Mhm.
so I was like, oh, if we could get the whole crowd to say like A minor and then like record this shit and drop it on YouTube and shit, like that would be fun. But I didn't do it because I bitched out, and I actually mentioned it to somebody, and they were like, I know people say that like they think they care about Epstein, but like I don't really think they do. And part of me was just like, think they actually do care about Epstein.
Yeah.
And
I
now
mean,
we're
there's kids
seeing
involved in it.
evidence of
Yeah.
that. What?
Yeah. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but like it's because
I
there's
mean,
kids involved, you know, like that's
yeah,
why,
yeah.
yeah, you know, like
I understand that. And I think, everybody should, like, I think I'm glad that's the reality, right? Like, I think that gives me faith that, like, humanity is not like, I know it's not, it feels very red and blue, and that's mostly, I think, because of like social media algorithms, and like people do not give enough credit to how much of their news feed is probably littered with fucking bots that are like controlling like the narrative of what is going on. And I'm also guilty of that, but like you just have to be 24/7 conscious of the fact that like some of the shit you're seeing like typed out is not actually from a human. They have AI. They can literally create scripts that
yeah.
like post all day, every day, 24/7. And it's not even just our country that like even if you don't think that that's a big conspiracy theory, hey fuckers, we are at war with almost like there's a lot of countries that have it out for us because we are the most profitable country in the entire fucking world, and they have a fucking financial incentive to screw us over and like rig our elections and fuck over our shit. So yeah, they are invested. They have intelligence like we have intelligence, and they have cyber attacks and shit where they're like trying to control each other, like, so they're gonna send people. They have Russian fucking troll farms where they'll have people go posting all day on fucking Twitter, and like that is only there to divide the American people, to put out these like opinions that are like overly like strong in one direction. And there is a human element to it, but like part of it is also just like it's manufactured, right? Like, so even if it's just a bot, right, then you get the follow-ups of the real humans, right? Because the bot brought the emotion out of the real human, and now the real human is responding, and now and this is all getting, oh, this person I know that, well, they said this, and then like they're and it's just like this is fucking terrifying. Like the whole future of like humanity is terrifying. But like at least for now, and I don't feel like this is gonna last long because I know how fucking like scarily fucking realistic AI has gotten. But like it's like you gotta like if we can't do Facebook anymore. We can't do Twitter anymore. We can't do any of that anymore. We have to be like, if we want any type of real personal connection where like you can guarantee that you're talking to a human, at least at this point in time, which probably won't last for long, the only security is to actually talk to somebody face to face with a video, and that person is clearly talking and like expressing themselves. Now they could be bought out by some other, like I look at YouTube, I feel like a lot of fucking things are currently being funded by, again, corporations that realized, oh, there's money in this. Because I grew up with a different YouTube than the kids today have. The YouTube that I grew up with was more like TikTok, except the videos were longer. But TikTok, has that whole fucking, intimacy of like anybody can just upload some shit, and anybody can upload shit on YouTube, which, but like most of the shit that gets pushed to the front of your algorithm, you don't have a For You page unless you go to your Reels. But that's still all like, you can tell the difference between like things that are produced professionally, right? If the camera, I mean, like it really depends, because also, yeah, some people have really nice phones and really nice equipment, so it's like you can't. So it gets harder and harder to find like the actual like what's real and what's not. What is not being like, what is a real human that's not being influenced by some fucking corporation, by some fucking other outside, like who's just being themselves, right? I'm gonna say like I'm being myself, but you don't know that. I could very well be like funded by like a big conglomerate of shit. But I don't know. I getting back to Epstein though. So I was, I'm glad that like people found that like is actually like a thing that they're willing to part with the president on. Because that's the only thing. It seems fucking insane how much they put up with to get to that point where they actually seem to have like some level of rejection. But like even then, it's not all of them. It's not even like enough of them. And also just like I don't know, the number of distractions that keep getting thrown out and thrown out, like, and it's just like, talk about anything other than Epstein. But like, nah, let's talk about Epstein. I don't understand. Like, this is the thing. I saw a meme or whatever it is. It's like people being like, "Oh, but what if?" Or Trump actually said it. I think he had a meeting where it's just like, "Well, you should ask Bill Clinton about that. He was real
Oh
close."
yeah, yeah,
Like, this is again them trying to turn it into like Republican versus Democrat.
yeah,
Nobody gives a fuck about Bill Clinton. We
yeah.
don't give a shit about Bill Clinton. What
We
the
already know what he's on, bro.
We
Like
don't give a shit about Hillary. We don't
that's
give a
not,
shit
dude.
about
Yeah,
Biden. We don't give fuck those people. If they're on the fucking pedophile list, get them the fuck out of here. That's
yeah,
all you got to know. I don't care if you're a Republican, an independent, a Democrat. Get them the fuck out of here. I don't care if it's my mother. Get her the fuck out of here. That's like, I don't like, that's like what I'm saying. Like, this is not. What the fuck are you talking about? This is them just trying to make it again a political, like, oh, Democrats, they're gonna be mad if you do, like, what the,
yeah.
no, we don't give a shit. Get it, get these people out of here.
I think the Epstein list was also kind of like one of the big things that got him like popular in 2016, because it was like obviously that was when the Epstein didn't kill himself meme like came up, but also I think that like a lot of his voter base are like tied to the QAnon thing, and the QAnon has like is very closely tied with the Epstein list, because they're like, well, the way that they get adrenochrome is through Epstein Island, and that's where they're taking all the kids. And so like all the Trump supporters were like, yeah, QAnon is the real deal, because like Trump's gonna drain the swamp. He's gonna expose all the people. And then he just fucking roped them around for like 8 years straight, saying, oh, we're gonna get the list out. And then when he's in power and has the ability to release the list, he doesn't do it.
Yeah.
They're gonna be pissed. But then like Trump's trying to make it like like the Democrats don't want me to do it. Well, I guess I'm gonna
I mean,
not
it's the
do
same
it.
thing with the wars too. Like, he
Yeah.
said we're gonna get these wars will be over day one. We're gonna and like we're still in the same two fucking wars. Israel and like we're like antagonizing more countries and just getting further into a fucking shit show that we do not
Yeah.
want to be a part of. We as Americans do not want this, but
Yeah.
our government is dragging us into this, right? This is the thing. Like every people outside of our country just like don't like I've seen people anyway just say like things where it's just like they don't seem to understand like I don't control none of this shit. Like I think the majority of people are against the wars. I think even the people that
Oh
voted
yeah.
for Trump, I think the majority of Americans are against the wars, against funding them. Like
Yeah.
we want to worry about America, right? And this
Yeah.
is the irony is that like Trump tries to present himself as America first, but like what we as Americans want, we want affordable housing, we want a healthcare that is like I want to be able, if I have cancer and I go to the hospital, I don't want to have to think about money. Don't let me like that.
Yeah.
I just want to fucking get like I'm about to die. Let's not fucking
Yeah.
like and it's too much. Like it's bad. It's exploitative. It's unethical. It's people who like they know they're doing a bad thing and they do it anyway because
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
comes down to profit. Them sitting in this fucking chair. Oh, this is my microchip, and like I'm only like I'm already here. Might as well just keep doing what I'm already doing, and like. So they're just trying to bleed like money out of. They're trying to bleed money out of the wallets of people, right? And
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
and they do it, at the expense of their health, at the expense of their livelihood, like their ability to live a humane life, right? Where you have access to healthcare, where you have access to a home, where it's just like these are basic things in the richest fucking country in the world. You would think we would have, but we don't, and the reason is because of fucking capitalism.
Yeah,
But
exactly.
I wanna actually like pivot on that. So because I was actually thinking to myself, like, because I'm not anti-capitalist, right? Like I'm like I try to like I don't think of any of these like economic models as like bad or whatever. Because at the end of the day, I mean, like it. I was actually thinking because I was listening to a podcast the other day and they kind of pointed this out to me, and maybe that's why I think about it this way. But when you learn economics, right, economics is taught like it removes the human aspect of it. And I was listening to a podcast where they're talking about that as well. And it's just like, it could be argued that you probably shouldn't, right? Like, but like, I'd have to come up with a great example, but I think the point being that I don't think of capitalism as bad. I don't think of communism as bad. I don't think of socialism as bad. I think of them as like just a different orientation of power structures and like where the money gets funneled to and how that money gets distributed to like different people in society. And so, at the end of the day, I yeah, I just like I removed the human element of it, and because if you don't put humans in them, they can all like it depends on who you put in the fucking position, right? Like that's all it is. It's like what happens. Like if I own a restaurant and like you go to my restaurant and you get punched in the face. Well, the reason you got punched in the face is because I put a fucking asshole there, right? Like I hired an asshole and that asshole was there. But if all I do is hire good people and they're all like genuinely like nice people, you're gonna go into that restaurant, you're gonna be happy, you're gonna walk out and you're gonna be fine. Just like if we had good people, good decent human fucking beings, right? If we voted on fucking morals, I think, instead of like whatever the fuck it is, like I don't know, just like because we find the gray areas of morality, right? Like where we disagree. We agree on like 99 out of 100 things, but the one that we disagree on, like that's the thing that like, gets publicized in the mainstream media and all the, politicians are talking about it. And like, that's what divides people. Like we talk about like, look, I honestly believe a large reason why Donald Trump won the election. I don't think people are going to ever like admit to it, but I think the large reason why he won the election was because of Amin Khalif, the trans boxer from Algeria.
Oh yeah.
So this was like published on like J.K. Rowling retweeted it and Elon Musk retweeted it, and like they basically published a headline that said trans. I don't remember if they said trans man or trans woman.
They said like biologically male.
Yeah, biologically male or something like.
It's
like
something
really,
stupid like that.
Like the way they like headlined it was very intentional, right? And so, but like this is the thing. It's like that's telling a story, right? Like this is what happened. That headline says everything about what happened. And that headline was entirely wrong, right? Like that, because that wasn't what happened. She was not a biological male.
No.
She was born with like my understanding of like some kind of like, I don't know.
She just produced more testosterone than the average woman.
I think she also might have had like some like different genitalia than like either just male or female, right?
No, it was. I think it was the chromosome. I think she had like a different like she was still like a woman. But
Right.
like I think like she had a different like a special configuration. Something like that.
Here's the problem, right? This is where people break down, right? This is where the online conversation breaks down, because then this is where people start to like bicker about like, oh, like did she have this? Did she have that? Nobody knows, and like the reality is like unless we're looking at it, she like that, but like. If we could just like put that aside for just a second and continue on, because like there's just more like reasoning further down that's better. She was born in Algeria, right? Mm-hmm. She was, regardless of whatever she was born with, she was labeled female by birth, right? That the doctors have it in writing, female by birth, and she was born in Algeria. And so she grew up in Algeria, and in Algeria, it is illegal to get a sex change. You cannot get a sex change. And like, in order to do that, like, even if you did that, it would be like people would kill you, like literally, like culturally, like that's my understanding, right? And so none of this equates to the headline, which is trans, like someone born as a male who went into boxing, who converted into a woman, and then like went into boxing and then just started beating up women. And then you also find out like, okay, like this person has been boxing for like literally like I don't know like they did it before, right? Like
Yeah.
the year before they lost like first round or something.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
they're a norm. Like they've been competing. It's never been like it's and like the way that they took it and framed it was very intentional. And like I tried to argue with like this is like when that happened. I knew in that moment how big that moment was. The very moment I saw it, I didn't even see people talking about it yet. I immediately knew like, oh, this is gonna be a big like thing. And the
Yeah.
reality is, right? I do genuinely believe that a very large portion of the reason why Trump won was because of that whole fucking thing, which really like put a spotlight on the whole like disagreement that people have on trans trans people in sports and trans people in combat sports, and then like making this a whole big fucking deal. And my thing is that like um I forgot my train of thought for
Yeah. Oh, well, I mean, I do want to add something to that.
yeah.
It's just part of the culture war. It's
Right.
just part of the culture war, and that's the most
Well, this
that's
is what I was gonna say though. Like, this is insane, right? We agree on almost everything. We agree we want better housing. We want like cheaper housing. We want healthcare. We want to all the things that like we want the ability to go into like college and there's so many problems I could just go through and list them all, but I don't have the time. But like we want the ability to go to college and not have to spend like 10 years in college because that's a fucking scam. We want the ability to go into the workforce and be trained and educated and have a real chance of like making a good livelihood regardless of like what our parents were. There are some people who are born, you have wealthy parents, and then you have other people who are born who have nothing,
right.
and then you have
Hmm.
different skin advantages and all these other things that like contribute to, I mean, disabilities and all those things that contribute to how difficult mental health challenges and actual like when people talk mental health they think they try to find the easy target to really make it like, oh, those bitches, like, but like
Yeah.
they're like referring to like like somebody that says that they have depression or something like that, and that's just a very like toxic masculinity type of like perspective of it, but like there are also people that just literally have like mental conditions that like make them render them unable to like be an equivalent productive member of society in terms of producing crap, right? Like
Yeah.
and so like and they don't they find the low hanging fruit example and then they could throw out the whole argument rather than like explaining whether or not like it can apply to all situations, but that's
Wait.
on it, I
So,
guess.
hold on. I think I got lost. uh,
I get lost all the time.
so we were like, you started off talking about like we all agree on things, but then
Yeah. Well, I feel like we're arguing like the whole trans thing, right? We are arguing about a fraction of a population of a fraction of a population
yeah.
of a fraction of a population. This is not, this is trans people, which are already, I don't know what the number is. I can Google it, but like, I'm assuming it's less than 5% of American
It's
population.
something tiny. It's
It's
something
very
tiny. Yeah. Yeah.
small.
Yeah. It's a
And then we're
minority.
not even talking about all trans people, right? Because this is half of trans people. This is only the men, and for whatever reason, and this applies to both, like, it applies somehow to both transphobia and homophobia, where like it seems like men get it worse than women, because like there's not a lot of people are anti-lesbian, and there's reasons for that, obviously, but like that, men and especially are just like they're the ones that tend to be more vocal and outspokenly against trans, but like again, it seems like there's a lot more focus on like, okay, you're a man and you transition into a woman. They don't really ever
Yeah.
talk about you're
Yeah.
a woman, you transition into a man. But
Well,
and then
I think
like
that's
you're
us.
also that was like we've already whittled this down. This was like originally like a 5 or whatever. Now 50% of that, and now these are only the ones that want to go into sports. Then we're gonna whittle it down again. These are only the ones that want to go into combat sports, and this is gonna be the thing that decides who we vote on the next president. That's what I think a lot of people fucking did. A lot of people did that. They said, oh, fuck affordable housing, fuck healthcare, fuck a functioning government where our democracy is capable of where we're allowed to vote for the person we want to be president, because that's getting thrown out because we just fucking watched this guy try to fucking overthrow the government in 2016. Like
2020,
yeah,
2020, yeah,
my bad. Yeah. So it's just like, what the fuck? Like, and they don't ever want to talk about that one either, because it's just like, okay, well, first of all, you said that the Democrats rigged the election. That's the only, like, there's no denying, right? Like that Trump tried to fucking overturn the election, right? He literally went. You just watch his Twitter. You don't even have to. You don't have to read anything. No mainstream media. Nothing. Just watch what he types on Twitter. You fucking dumbasses. Get it from the fucking horse's mouth. And like, he literally went through and he was just like trying to encourage people to come out and try to get them to like get riled up and like. Whether obviously it was a very fucking bad fucking attempt. It was the equivalent of like me going into a fucking like a liquor store. I'm gonna shoot this place. You better give me all the fucking money you got.
Yeah.
That's what that was my fucking attempt of trying to overthrow the fucking president of the democracy. But you still let that fucking person be your fucking president. Are you fucking retarded? I just don't understand that.
So in terms of like the culture war thing, right?
Yeah.
Like a lot of Americans are single issue voters, and it doesn't really take much because, like I mentioned before, the research has kind of suggested that like Americans don't tend to have a very comprehensive grasp of like what their belief system is, and so when it comes to the Imam Khalif thing, like it's low hanging fruit, and it's a very, very rare case, but it's like polarizing enough where like people see it and they want to get mad. And I think when you mentioned that like especially trans femmes get it the worst is because like people, I mean, like on average, men have a physical advantage over women. Like, you know, their composition on average is going to make them more physically imposing than a woman.
Right. And like at the end of the day, this is also just because I think some people just don't know what on average means, right?
Yeah.
I think like, because like the average person maybe didn't like go to or pay attention in like statistics, but you know, there's a bell curve, right? And most people fall within like, you know, the larger portion of the bell curve.
Yeah.
And so like a great example I think is height, right? Like, so you have a lot of people, like maybe the average person is, I think it's lower than 6 feet. It's like 5'10",
I think it's
5'10". So the average person is 5'10", but then you have like these extremes. You have some people who have like are 8 feet 9, or you know, I don't know the tallest person, but pretty fucking tall. And those people are further away from the bell curve. But there's also like, you know, it's the quantity of people goes down because the taller and taller you get, there's only like, you know, 5 or whatever people that are like, you know, that tall. And so the distribution of strength also, like almost everything, intelligence, all these type of things tend to like follow on like, you know, a bell curve like these. But like when people think about it, like when you map it out, it's like you have a shifting, like the bell curve, you have 2 bell curves. And they look like boobs. So they have 2 bell curves, and like one of them is going to be lower than the other, right? So when you talk about like, you know, whether women are stronger than men or can be stronger or whatever. And like, so this would apply, there would be different graphs for each one of these traits, I think. But like, it would be that like men would, men would be like, you know, men would be stronger. So there would be like one bell curve for men, one bell curve for women. And like men would just be shifted more to the right. And so like they would overlap each other. But what you would find is that like, you know, a lot of like everybody on the right of the bell curve is still going to be like, you know, they're going to be taller than a lot of the men on the left of the male bell curve.
Right.
I described it perfectly, but I don't know if people are going to comprehend it if they don't already know what it is. But
yeah, right, exactly. So like, say like we plucked out like a random man or woman from like the population, like there is going more often than not, you're going to see a man that's stronger than a woman. If we're just like say like we plucked out these two random people and then we had them like do double curls, the man's most likely going to be doing it
Right.
heavy. And if you did this thousands and thousands of times, you'd notice that men are more often than not stronger than women. And so,
Right.
just in terms of that, I think like tying it back to the previous conversation, it's like the reason why people focus on trans femmes the most, like male to female trans people, is because they still don't separate that biological assumption from them. And so they see their presence in female sports as predatory. And I
Right.
think I think we also have to have an honest conversation that like, there's going to be it depends on like at what time of their life that the person transitioned, because that's also going to change their biological like composition. And it's like it's just on average. And a lot of I think there's also we have to understand that like competition is just going to be there are going to be instances where like a male to female person who transition is just probably not going to compete as well, but they focus on the times where a trans femme does well, performs well, and then they just use that as a way to like demonize them. And I think that's just entirely unfair. And it's like it gets enough attention where people are like crusading because of it. And it's like, and it's not just combat sport. I think with combat sports it's even a bigger it's even more divisive because people are like, oh man, it's just a guy beating on a woman. But like there's
Right.
also like that female swimmer who's like going around the country speaking different college campuses because she lost to a trans woman in a swim meet. And it's like,
Right.
bro, you were in fifth place. Like there were four other girls who beat you, and I think like one of them was like 16 years old. Like you like you just suck. But then like they don't care. They don't care that this person was just a shitty swimmer. They only care that there was a trans woman they were racing against and won. Like it's just like it's kind of ridiculous, and like I said, it doesn't make sense. They just take like the smallest, most minuscule issue, and then they
Right.
just create so much disagreement over it that like people can't like
Well, I
just
think it's all
completely.
engineered though. Like I
Yeah,
think
yeah, it is.
I mean, like, even no matter what you say, I think like Elon Musk was literally, if you can, again, this is where, see, this is the thing. Like, I don't really read news all that much. Like, even like lately, I have not, since Trump has become president, I have really tuned out everything. I just like, I read the headlines. I spent like a long time just like actually paying attention. And I was like, this is just like making me like it's too much anxiety and like you can't really do anything about it, so you just sit with that fucking like all this fucking annoyance, and then like you're also getting gaslit at the same time because no matter what, like no matter, this is the thing that I wish like Republicans are not. Let me go back because I don't think Republicans and Democrats are. I don't think people should be described as those things, right? Those things, those fucking things. Like these are politicians that like are their lifetime career politicians who fucking like do all the shit, all the lever pulling and fucking do the wrong thing rather than the thing that we as people all want. We as people, you can call it liberal and conservative if you want. I don't give a shit. Find another term if it's better. I don't. Figure it out. Let me know. But like, I think, what was I saying? What was the original thought? Do you know?
Uh,
Conservative something.
yeah, you don't like using the label Republican and Democrat.
Well, yeah, I mean like that part, but I'm like right
Uh,
before that, but
fuck.
that's fine. But like,
Yeah.
yeah, I was just saying that I think but I was just saying that I think it's engineered, right? Like
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, yeah, that's right. Yeah.
I think that I don't think I don't know. I believe that Elon Musk was just literally posting over and over and over again, like trying to rile up. Like he literally would just and I mean like, first of all, he owns Twitter, and Twitter is overrun with bots that are all posting like political opinions, like whether you want to see it on your newsfeed or not. And I actually did, and ironically, somebody like posted a fucking. I recorded it. I did it myself. I know 100% that like I went onto the Twitter algorithm. because I already had the theory that this was happening, and I was just like, this is obvious, right? But like, I went to the Twitter algorithm and I deliberately just started clicking likes and everything on cats, 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 over
Yeah.
and over, cats, dogs, whatever. I wanted a feed full of nothing but cats and dogs, okay? And every time I saw anything political, I clicked not interested. And then I just kept going, cats, cats, cats. And like, it still kept like every time I clicked not interested and kept scrolling down, it actually started to like fucking get more and more. And I kept getting more fucking politics, politics, politics. And it took about a frame of like 40 to 50 minutes or so to like, you know, get to a point where like my news feed was pretty much like overrun with politics, right? So I don't believe at all that the algorithm was at that time because they can change the algorithm.
Yeah.
They have fucking like versioning. That's what we do. We fucking iterate over and over again.
Yeah. I mean, Elon Musk is not a good faith actor, so it's like
No, I don't believe that at all.
he's going to put like he's going to alter the
Elon
information
has
environment to his
deluded
favor.
himself. I think Elon. This is the problem, right? I think Elon genuinely believes that Elon is a good person, which is like the way that some people are when they're narcissists. And like, but like,
I mean,
I
yeah.
think he has deluded himself into believing that the space endeavor of exceeding mankind it's more important than doing the right thing. Like he thinks of like it's like the fucking trolley experiment, right? And the reason I can like I've thought this way before, and I can understand the train of thought, but it's like it's literally like you have the option to kill either five people or one person. Well, you have to do one or the other, right? Like, there's no option to say I'm not doing this. So like you're either gonna like pull a lever, and if you pull that lever, it will kill one person, and then if you don't pull the lever, it will kill five people. So you want to minimize the number of people that you want to kill, but if you pull the lever, then you're directly interfering with something that's already happening, and you're basically you murdered that one person, but you saved the lives of five people. So now I'm Elon Musk. I'm super into fucking space, man. I'm into colonialism. Let me get high on ketamine. Oh, you know what? If I want to save humanity, if I want to save all of humankind, I acknowledge global warming is real. That's why I sell electric vehicles. This is one of the things that you'll hear like Elon Musk actually dissent with Trump about. Like he did a Twitter interview, and like he literally said like Trump was like saying something about like, you know, anti-climate change, and like Elon Musk was very adamant like, no, climate change is real. And like, so he believes this, right? I do believe that he believes that. And like, I think that he believes that the future of humanity is currently it's going to go extinct because we're not dealing with global warming or anything. And it would be easier and more prosperous for us as a human species to go out into interstellar and like start exploring the universe. And this is my theory of like why he acts the way he does, because I think he genuinely wants to think of himself as a nice guy, and he probably in some capacities to some people appears to be a nice guy. But his origin story is really, I want to save humanity. I want to be the one that saves humanity. And so I'm going to manufacture this. I'm going to disrupt the biggest, political system in the world. And then I'm going to use it to make sure that humans go to Mars, and make sure that by any means necessary. If I have to, crack a few eggs to break an omelet, then I'm going to do that, because that's what they do. They move fast and they break shit. And so I think that's it. I mean, I think it's that simple. It's not that he's not a fucking, it's not hard to figure him out. He's not a fucking genius. He's just a fucking, he just deluded himself into believing that this was a more ethical outcome than to kill this, to kill people on Earth, right? To further the larger number of people that will be produced if we continue millions of years into the future.
I have an even lower opinion of him than you do. I think he's just a greedy apartheid baby. And
Yeah.
I think
Well,
that
I mean,
just
I
kind
think
of
that's
boils
true
down.
too.
Like
I
I
do
don't, I
100%
think
believe he believes in white supremacy, and like that's a whole nother part, which like so yeah, that part is not at all redeemable.
I just don't think he ever really. I don't think he did I don't think he intervened in the way he did during Trump's campaign out of the interests of his space mission. I think he did it because like he's the richest man in the world, and if Donald Trump comes into power, he already knows that his business is going to boom even more. Like I'm sure he knew that whatever regulations were looming over AI, Trump was going to strip them. Whatever regulations was over corporations, Trump was going to strip them. Whatever part of the government Trump could sell off to a corporation, Trump would sell it off. And then like he put that fucker in Doge. Like it's actually insane. Like I read this. I forgot who said it, but like they said that fascists don't create corporations; they create toll booths. They create a life where everything that you need is extracted from you at a cost. And that's why they're defunding a lot of these key departments, like Department of Education. They're going to privatize that shit because then, like,
Well, yeah, they're just gonna
yeah,
like they're just
you
gonna
have to pay for it.
profit more. I
Yeah,
get
you're gonna,
that.
yeah, you know what I'm saying?
I
It's
believe
like,
that's true as well. I mean, like it's not like an either or situation for me. But yeah, like 100%, I see this every day. Like this is a rant I almost went on earlier, but here we are. So, but like, but like, it's literally I wrote out a list of a bunch of things that like really like because I'm better at writing when I can actually think and like I don't want to spend too much time on it. But one moment. So you have all right. We have healthcare. Like what are all the expenses? We have healthcare. We like if I'm doing everything right, I'm putting money into a 401k. I am so like we compared to what we had in like the 90s and stuff, they have a lot more subscription based services. So you have Netflix and like Hulu, and these are all different bills. Amazon, and like they keep on jacking up their prices, and they're just basically like
yeah,
again the frog in the water getting boiled until you can't like until they're just bleeding slowly and slowly more and more money out of your pocket, and like and so you have all these subscription services. Then you have tipping, like this idea that the rise of like the tipping culture in America, I think was in large part encouraged by like services like Uber and Lyft, which are trying to cut out like they're trying to get as much profit margin as they can, so they don't want to pay their workers. And it's the same thing with the service industry, but like they just don't want to pay their workers the amount like a livable wage, and like cut into their profits, so they put that responsibility on the customer, and the customer is now in charge of being the one that ethically pays the person a livable wage, right? Am I going to tip 15% or 20%, or am I going to be like an asshole and tip like nothing, right? Like, and so this is just, I think, again, okay, so these are all things coming out of my pocket, though, right? So then, like, there's just the obviously house expenses. You go to college. College is another, like, you take on debt of, like, 60,000, 100,000, depending on, where you go, whether you're staying there. So that's another, like, expense where you just jack up, or you rack up all this fucking debt, and, like, you got to pay it off forever. Then you have interest. You throw interest on that, and you're going to be paying off money that is like your debt is constantly increasing as you pay it off. Like you're just going further and further into this hole, and that prevents people from being able to get a mortgage. The cost of mortgages are going up, and they're just like, I could just go down the list, and I had a longer list than this, but this is just all the fucking problems with capitalism that like have not been solved by our government. And the way I look at capitalism, going back to like, me saying I look at it as more of like a system, right? You put good people in it, you put good faith actors into the role of government. It doesn't matter what system you have. You could have a fucking monarchy, you could have a king. As long as he's a good king, then the people are going to have a good time. But if he's an asshole, then the people are going to have a bad time. Or you can have a democracy, you could have communism, but at the end of the day, the people that you put into office are the determinant of what that, like, whether communism goes well or bad, whether capitalism goes well or bad. And so obviously we only know, I mean, like, there's other versions of capitalism, obviously, but the one in America at the moment is obviously very corrupted. And it's
It's an
corrupted.
oligarchy. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's corrupted. Exactly, it's corrupted by people who have money, and like they have been rigging the fucking rules of the game, like in order to make it so that you like it's not possible to compete with them because they have enough money to buy you out to use their resources to make you like uncompetitive, right? Like they have laws in place in order to prevent, competition from like, getting into certain industries. Like there's literally like the best example that everybody knows about is literally fossil fuel versus the new clean energy thing. And we know that, clean energy is necessary for the long term, and yet we're still stuck with fossil fuel because there's money lobbying against it, right? And then like that money won the election. And so I mean, like, and there are good arguments for why fossil fuel is necessary. We shouldn't just, like, we obviously need to wean off of it, but like at the same time it's just like we're not doing it right at all, and like we're not even getting close to the mark. Not even close. If we had competent or good people, we would be getting somewhere close to the mark, but we're not there at all. We are all the way over there, giving all the money to Elon Musk, who has a net worth of fucking $400 billion, and like he has the same net worth almost as the fucking United Healthcare, the entire fucking corporation. One man has almost that fucking same amount of wealth as the same dude that got his fucking head blown off. And like, are we like, it's just like, what are we talking about?
So I think so. I do want to offer some pushback on your argument
Yeah,
about like
I
it's
welcome that.
it's more like I think if we understand it's kind of like a plug and play perspective on like these different economic modalities. Like as long as this as good people are in here, And I think also, I mean, Marx also kind of had a similar understanding, at least maybe because he saw economics as more as a progression, or like capitalism was a necessary and important stone to get to the next level, because it led to a lot of this development and a lot of this ingenuity that's like crucial to the way we understand human life now. But I think, but I think the way that you phrased it, right? Where you're saying like it takes if you put good people in a capitalist system, good things are going to happen. I
Right.
think I think that's kind of it's an understanding that like just holds people as completely independent from the system.
Right.
Whereas like
Which is what we were kind of saying, what I was saying earlier about like, I was listening to a podcast and that was a revelation that I had at that moment because I didn't really think about that. But yeah, it does keep people independent of like, it doesn't really think about like what are causing all these things, like what's pulling the levers. It just tells you like, this is how the structure is, right?
yeah,
But
because
yeah,
it's like it's kind of like these theories are just being held in a vacuum, right? But like I think you also have to think about like the sequence in which like these things might happen. Like if you were to like say have a democracy and then go into a monarchy, then that's just I feel like that's a bad thing.
right,
But you also have to think that like the system also creates behaviors and habits and also changes the people's understandings. I think especially now the reason why a lot of people there's like a constant pushback against like communism is because like we have lived under a capitalist world system for like almost for like maybe 300 years now, and for us to imagine a world that's completely different, it's daunting. Like it's also intimidating, like for people to think of like change to just happen, but change never just happened instantly. I think it happened incrementally. And
Right.
so and so that, but again, with the reason why I'm so against capitalism is that capitalism entrenches itself because the people who run the system are the ones who benefit from it the most. Like Elon Musk is not going to want to, he's he comes off as a bad faith actor, but if you think about capitalism in a game theoretic manner, like he's the best player in the game right now. Like
Right.
he knows how to play the game because he has the resources and the ability to like exert his will on the system.
But
And
like the point is like why? Like I just don't understand that. Like I don't understand why somebody would be motivated to care that much about money, to care. Like it's literally $400 billion. It's so fucking much money. Like I can't even like dude, he could not spend that in like 1,000 lifetimes. Like he could not. And like it's like 400 billion is like it like people just don't like really tend to process the fucking like the quantity of that. Like $1 million is like a drop in the bucket of that. Like it's not even, and like all he would need to live his entire life and probably have all the fucking nicest things that you could probably imagine is like 10 million, right? Like you
yeah,
probably don't need much more than that. And it's just like fucking stupid. It's just like
I think it's like also the power that comes with money, like he's able to exert a lot of influence. I mean, like, dude, like if you wake up one day and be like, damn, I could really just change the election if I wanted to.
mhm,
That's what the fuck he did, like he just
yeah,
and it's like I think I forgot where I heard it, but it was like the richest that someone should ever be is like $300 million, and they said that like after you make $300 million, like life completely changes for you. I mean, it's already changed at that point, but like you are a different type of human at that point. Like people don't say no to you. People treat you differently. People coddle you. People want to be around you. People want to like feed your ego because you have so many resources that can benefit them. And so like I think with Elon, if you've taken that and you've driven it to the maximum, and then you get invited to the inauguration,
mhm,
like, dude, that just validates you to a point where, like, yeah, I'm going to stay deluded and I'm going to want to be deluded. And it's
right,
like, and now the system is set up where like you're only going to get richer. You're not going to get taxed. They're not going to reform a way to like redistribute your wealth. So you just do whatever the fuck you want. And it sucks. Like it
right,
fucking sucks. Um, but I think that's just, I think, in my opinion, the culmination of capitalism. Whereas, like the end game for capitalism, for the players, especially if you think for the players, like the main players, they're going to want to accumulate the most profit, right?
mhm,
What happens when you have only a few players that have the most resources? You have an oligarchy.
right,
And that's what we have devolved into in this country. And
right,
how do you facilitate an oligarchy? A fascist government, because people, the general population, is not going to support their wealth being extracted their entire lives. Like the only way for that thing to happen is to have another entity that wields a different type of power to enforce that system. And if capitalists really like, if they really in their hearts like want to play the game the way it's supposed to be played, then they're going to do that. And I think that's why we're here.
right. Hey, it's been a real pleasant conversation.
Yeah, man.
No, I
Yeah,
mean I'm
man.
here for it. I
Yeah,
love the
yeah, yeah,
political
yeah.
shit, but like I don't get to talk about it much, just the bullshit about it because
Yeah,
I
you had a lot of shit you need to get off your chest, man.
yeah. I mean, I feel the pressures of capitalism every day, man. I think about it. I feel like, it's just like I always have to grapple with myself. Where am I going to compete? How much am I going to compete? Right? Like, do I feel like, you got to figure out what your balance is, right? Like, and
Yeah.
that really comes down to like work-life balance, right? Like, I would personally probably rather have like I'd rather have a comfortable life. Just I want to like go around my house and like fucking do shit and like just like try to like clean up the pool and fucking like
Yeah.
shit like that and clean up the house and like whatever and like just spend
Live
my
your
time
life.
like with my with my wife and our cats and we just fucking like chill and like I don't know. After that, I'm good. Like I don't need much more than what we got. We literally have
Yeah.
like a decent house. At the moment we're comfortable. Like we're not rich, but like we're not struggling either. Like we're not paycheck to paycheck. We're like so like what more do you need? I don't feel like I don't understand people always chasing that same like something else. Like you got it,
Right.
right? Like you
Yeah, it
got
doesn't make
everything.
sense.
But I think, yeah, I don't know. Some of it might come from, I don't know. I do more introspection. That's really what it is, I think. And it's just like
Hmm.
I'm like, well, is that what I want? And other people are just like, yeah, that's what I want. I think,
Yeah.
and I think we're taught at a young age that like, that's what men are supposed to do, right? Like
You're
men are
supposed to
supposed to be
grind,
like
man.
providers, and like, then we're taught that like you get like the commercials and all that, like all the women who want like this, what I'm looking for a guy in finance, 5'6'9" or whatever the
Yeah.
fuck,
Yeah.
like. It's like whatever. I
Yeah.
5'6". Yeah, I don't
Yeah.
think that
Yeah.
works.
Do you know the guy Dan Herschel?
No, I don't.
He's like on Twitter, like he's always doing stupid shit.
Yeah.
Like he did this bit where he like shaved the entirety, like he like he like drew like like the Hitler stash on him. He wore like a costume, and then he like combed his hair, and he was like, I just went to a job interview and they did not hire me. Why didn't they do, like, he does like really stupid shit like that. But
Mhm.
like he had this one moment where like he looked dumb as fuck in the video. Like he shaved his head, shaved his eyebrows, and but this whole time he's just like on a rant. He's like, why do I have to like we one of the best lines in the video that like came to mind, it was like, I did not choose to be alive, but like now that I'm alive, like why do I owe 20 different people $200 every month?
Right.
And that shit, like why do we choose to live like this, dude? Like this
Yeah.
sucks, you know?
Yeah, I don't know. All right. It's getting late. You
Yeah.
ready to wrap this one up? I appreciate you
Yeah.
for
Of
coming
course,
on the
bro.
podcast. Do you got anything that you want to plug or anything like that?
No, man. All I gotta say is go to Ballotpedia, read more, and stop doom scrolling, man. It's really fucking us all up. Just go outside, get in touch with your community, really get to know the people around you, and yeah, vote. Vote, man. Vote, please. For the love of God, please vote.
Yeah. All right, man. I really appreciate you taking the time out. It's been a great conversation,
Yeah.
and yeah, I'll keep in touch with you.
Yes, sir.
I might have a battle coming up. I don't know. I don't know yet. But if I do, I'm hitting you up.
Yeah, let me know.
I'm gonna send you the whole notepad. The whole notepad. I wanna oh man. Would you be down to do that one day? Like maybe get on like a Zoom call and just like run through some bar. Oh, we did that before once, I think. My
Yeah, I'm
bad.
done to do it though. I'm done to do it
I
again,
know I
bro.
bore you to sleep with that shit. My bad. I don't.
No. I was
Yeah,
the wheels were
I know
turning,
it's
man.
so much. Like it's a lot. Like,
Yeah.
but yeah, I'm like always trying to like pick and choose. Like I'm trying to make like a bit, a greatest hits, type of
Yeah.
thing,
Mm-hmm.
because like man, the competition. I battle, and like ooh, there's some really fucking scary battlers out there.
Yeah, I mean, Jay the Nightwing is like really up right
Oh
now.
yeah. He's not an eye battle, but Jay is fucking. He is like I was just talking to XQZ and I told him I think that he's top five, like, one of the top five scariest people. Jay is one of those people that's above him. Real Sick is another person that's above him.
Oh yeah,
And
real say, yeah.
yeah. And when I say scary though, like I mean like really people that will take like well, I don't think Jade really gets like super deep, but like in terms of like people where I'm just like, ah man, like they might come like direct at me and like, because some people just like rap with bars and I'm never worried about those people because they're not gonna try to humiliate you. They're just gonna try to out rap you and like
Yeah.
try to get more reaction than you. But other people like when they're like, they're really going at you as a person and who you are and trying to like get the crowd to like, like they're focused on your person, like you're not what they're saying, right? And really it's whether or not you're more directed on your opponent versus whether you're directed on yourself. Like, do you want the attention on you or do you want them more attentive on
Right.
your opponent? Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, I'm hoping I have a battle coming up. I know none of the details, but maybe in the fall or so.
Yeah.
And
Just let me know, man.
I will definitely do that. But yeah, I appreciate you.
Thanks for
Yeah,
having me, bro.
yeah. Have a great night, man.
You too. Take care, man.
See ya.